Hello, 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 everyone. How is everyone doing this fine Tuesday afternoon when I thought was secretly thinking it was still Monday afternoon? But that's why we shouldn't have holidays on Mondays because it messes me up for the week. And you don't want to mess me up for the week. All holidays, all 3-day weekends should be Friday through Sunday. Friday through Sunday, let's just go with that. Then I'm never a day off. Good morning. Good. See, now I'm saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Davey. Whatever it is. Good afternoon, Patrick. Hey, Dan. Jet 92 in Santa Cruz, California today. It's 100 degrees officially here. So we went from cold to really hot. Good evening, Anissa. 104 in Livermore, California, Davey. Wow. Hey, Kalani, is this a one-day wonder or something more? We will take a look and see what we come up with. I took this week off because I'm really sick. Sorry, guys. Well, I'm sorry to hear you are sick, Rich, and I hope you get better very quickly. Again, if we don't see you here, we will send you well wishes. Hey, AP's World, are you doing? Well, everyone's well except for Rich. So we gotta send positive vibes to Rich so he gets better quickly. Agreed. Then when Monday is a holiday, Tuesday is still Monday of the week. Yes, and it messes me up because then what do I do for? I thought tomorrow was turnaround Tuesday, but today was turnaround Tuesday because we had friggin' Monday off. So let's just go Friday holidays, except for one that is a day specific, like Christmas. That we can rotate around. But everyone else, yeah, let's just make it Friday. Hey, Davey. Yeah, it's ouch. All right, what we got. See, I wasn't even prepared because I still thought it was Monday, and I'm like, then I changed the shots. I put up the wrong YouTube things because I wasn't prepared for Bob joining because it was the Tuesday that I realized it was, and Bob's sitting here against his brick wall, and I'm against a green screen with half my body missing. So
Am I off today? Is that what you're saying?
hold on. Well, you're in the background still, Bob. I have not hit the magic Bob button. Let me just get through a couple more things. There you go. Rich is sick, by the way, Bob, so you got to wish him well. Rich Beast. Tomorrow we have mortgage stuff in the morning. Then we have Powell and more Fed speaking. I am so tired of Fed speak at this point. I'm gonna just big. I told you we talked today about besides Facebook, which was the only thing we could talk about that after we're done with Bob. But I said watch mega caps and junk. I guess Tesla falls in that both categories, mega cap and junk. But like ARK, nice little rally in there. Some other stuff that I talked about where I was watching in the weekly sector overview, still baked in for that 75 basis points. And now updated stuff. We're still in very negative gamma territory. Not as big OpX going on right now. Not as big option, what should I say, positioning as last, the one that just expired, but we'll see. But we're still a long way off from neutral or positive gamma. Then that doesn't shift until 41.32 in the cash S&P. So again, negative gamma, you can get rip your face off rallies and massive dumps. So we have to keep being prepared, especially with the end of the month. By the way, tomorrow, just Winnebago in the morning and then KB home after the close is what I'm paying attention to. So we're done with that. With that, massive rally today, up 259 basis points in the S&P. I'm going to bring wait. Please subscribe. There you go. That's all you need to hear. Here you go, Bob.
I thought I was off today the way you were talking.
Well, I thought you were off too because I thought it was Monday. I already went on my all holidays should be on a Friday that aren't specifically tied to a day. Then we never have to worry about Monday getting confused with Tuesday and then Wednesday being turnaround Tuesday, but really Wednesday.
Totally agree with that. I think that's
See?
Great.
Just like you should get rid of daylight savings times and stick to one time all year, all holidays on a Monday, unless specific like a Christmas where it rotates with the calendar.
Something that's interesting, Florida's actually considering that. Florida's considering just getting off daylight savings time and going on just whatever
Pick a
Eastern
time,
time. Oh, that's
stick with
it.
it.
Yeah,
That's
that would screw me up so bad. I'm already time zone challenged.
no, but it's like when I lived in Arizona, it was wonderful. You never changed your clocks. Yeah, everybody else is just screwed up at that point. You just stick with your time all year long. Let everybody else worry about it. No, but we should just do it on a national basis. Come on, stop this crap. Let just pick a
Yeah,
time. So
agreed.
let's see. John says, "Hey, Bob and Mike, did the S&P form a bottom? Little possible short-term one, not a long-term one yet, but again, this rally can definitely continue." Hey, Waka Waka. Waka Waka was not here. He was at the dentist this morning. So,
Rich, I hope you feel better. Walk, I hope your teeth are fine.
see, there you go.
Um, I, I, I don't think it's a bottom. I think we've got a little bit of a short term bear market rally. You know, it's funny because these kinds of things happen. I'll call it an oversold rally, however you want to word it. These things happen, especially in bear markets. You see them in bull markets as well, where the news has stopped, right? The news has halted. We got the Fed meeting. We got the ECB pivot. We got the Bank of Japan who didn't pivot, who, wow, that situation is just degrading rapidly over in Japan.
oh yeah,
Um, oh my God, it's getting like positively scary for their populace in terms of credit and et
they're
cetera. But
they're
and
hold on.
but
While you're on that thought, they're like going to own 50% of their bond market coming up because they have to keep buying it. 50%. All right.
yeah, so basically you have no news at all. So you have short covering, and then you'll have some of the people still. I mentioned this last week that the more people that continue to ask me if we've had a capitulation yet, that means they're looking for the bottom. That tells me, with no technical input at all, that we haven't capitulated yet because there's still people looking to come in and buy what they believe to be the bottom. So capitulation is really when there's just no buyers. I don't care. Not people who are waiting for a capitulation already bought, and now they're capitulating. That's a capitulation bottom. I haven't seen it technically yet, but you could have a 2, 3 day rally. You could even have a 2 week rally here. I suspect we'll go up into the 21 and probably uh, move sideways a little bit and then fall again from there. We could get as high as a 50-day, but to me, this is not the end of the long-term selling. Mike Wilson from Morgan Stanley, chief investment strategist from Morgan Stanley, said that a recession is not priced into stocks. Now, I don't know what metrics he uses, but he said a slowdown is priced in, a revaluation is priced in, but a recession is not priced in. He put the probability of a recession somewhere around 70%. I believe it's higher. I know of some people who believe we're already in it. We'll find out in the next GDP session if we're in the old definition of the technical recession. The problem with the old definition is, so I was looking at this, according to the National Bureau of Economic Research, you also have to have high joblessness to have a recession. We don't have that, at least according to the data that we are told to look at, right, which is the headline unemployment rate. Now, we've seen multiple headlines of layoffs, hiring freezes. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the next few jobs numbers. But I suspect because of spin or because we won't have an immediate effect, jobs lag. So if we have a GDP recession and then 2 months later we have jobs moving into that 7, 8, 9%, the unemployment rate moving in that 7, 8, 9% area, and in the meantime, GDP is climbing back up. What did we have? A staggered recession? The last thing I want to throw out before I want to know if you guys have any questions for me is the more I look at inflation, the less I believe that anything can be done about it over like the next 6 quarters. When they talk about getting inflation back down to about 2.8%, if you ask me what my probability on that is, I'd say it's about a 7%. And that's only because I don't want to give it a zero. So I'm giving it a 7. It's certainly single digits, but I don't want to give it a 1. 5 just seems like too much of a round number. I mean, there's just no way with the supply chain issues, with the demand side issues. We're seeing no slowing of demand for airline and auto fuel yet. None in the data. So when you look at the data, the demand is still there, not even right with a normal summer driving season, but slightly higher. So we still have to see some demand there. We can't see permanent demand destruction in the form of people buying electric cars because the supply chain has made those prices go up. And 2 major sellers, Tesla and General Motors, their tax credits have expired. So actually, Mike, I'm going to send you this while you add or disagree with me or agree with me. I'm going to send you something that I want people to read. It's not, or I'll just read the key parts. It's on my Twitter. I'm going to have to email it to you, Mikey.
Okay.
It was the letter from Exxon to the president regarding his letter to the oil companies. Okay. So it's a super interesting thing because it kind of really spells out the issue we have with oil prices. And I highlighted the important parts. Mike, I just sent it to you with no subject to get it there quicker. Okay. So
That subject really, that slows down. Did you put the correct postage on it though?
I have to type it.
Oh, you don't.
Yeah. So I couldn't have just put a letter. I could have put XOM in there and it would have taken 2 seconds longer.
See, I got it. It says no subject. How am I supposed to open that? I don't trust you.
How are you supposed to? I highlighted what I believe to be the important part that people should understand when they talk about gouging, et cetera. And then again, if there's any questions for me or any comments, Mike, you want me to take.
Why is it? There we go. Well, here's why I know it's not the bottom. All right.
I definitely want to answer Ellen Hawaii's question, but go ahead.
It's very easy. I'm putting up one stock. Here's how I know it's not the bottom.
What is that?
Revlon that declared bankruptcy last week.
Oh, there you go.
And everybody's piling in like, hey, it's the bankruptcy party. Let's actually bring it up way higher than well before they declared bankruptcy.
It's the Hertz trade.
It is. It's exactly the same thing.
I don't know why they don't think that Revlon can't go out of business. Huh? They got too much makeup. Hertz actually was selling cars until these people bought up their stock.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Yeah, so here's the letter that he sent. Okay. And then we talked about the Jones Act.
Part. There we go. Oops.
I got it here, so it doesn't matter. I mean, you could put it somewhere for people to find if they don't know. It's on my Twitter highlighted. And I put captions that said, now I'm waiting for all the people to queue up and tell me that oil companies lie, but politicians tell the truth. That's how I posted it on Twitter with this part highlighted. So basically this. Specific to refining capacity, we've been investing through the downturn to increase refining capacity to process U.S. light crude by about 250 barrels a day, the equivalent of adding a new medium-sized refinery. We kept investing during the pandemic when we lost more than $20 billion and had to borrow more than $30 billion to maintain investment to increase capacity to be ready for post-pandemic demand. In the short term, the U.S. government could enact measures often used in emergencies following hurricanes or other supply disruptions, such as waivers of the Jones Act provisions. Did we talk about that in here, or did I talk about it in the podcast?
I don't think you talked about it in here.
All right, I'll talk about what the Jones Act is in a minute, such as waivers of Jones Act provisions and some fuel specifications to increase supplies. Longer term, government can promote investment through clear and consistent policy that supports U.S. resource development, such as regular and predictable lease sales, which this administration has not done, as well as streamlined regulatory approval and support for infrastructure, such as pipelines. Now, people might be against that, and that's completely fine with me. You might say, no, I want fossil fuels to end damn the costs. But you shouldn't, if you're one of those people that's like that, I have no problem with that if that's your opinion. But do not think that price gouging is happening because of greed from the oil companies. When they were losing 20 billion and had to borrow 30 billion, nobody gave a shit, right? Nobody was saying, hey, we got to help those oil companies out so they don't go bankrupt. So now when they have record profits and record margins like this, theoretically, I don't know if they do or not, but theoretically they would store that up for the next time they lose $20 billion, that they can go back and use those reserves. Now, the Jones Act is an act that says any refined product that gets exported out of the U.S. has to be in a U.S. flagged ship. Okay, so the ship has to be U.S. owned and carrying a U.S. flag. So that means it has to be ported in the U.S. There are not that many of those. Okay, and under normal circumstances, no problem. But when Russian crude is being banned from parts in Europe and the supply runs even lower. So if they suspended the Jones Act, U.S. refineries could put crude in ships that have Swedish flags, that have Montenegrin flags, that have Greek flags, anything, any other ship that's available right now that used to carry Russian crude, that now because of sanctions cannot. There's ships that are flagged with Malta. Those were heavily used in Russian crude. Those ships could be used, but the Jones Act forbids it. So what ends up happening is refinery storage gets filled up. There's no ships to ship them out. Refineries have to halt production. Supply dwindles. He hasn't done that. And he can do that with the stroke of a pen. The president can do that. So he has the emergency powers to do it. So that only can make one believe, and again, I'm not saying this is a bad thing or a good thing. I'm truly not. It would make one believe that the administration wants people to be angry at crude oil companies so that down the road they can get rid of crude oil companies. So anyway, that's what the Jones Act is. And that's where we're at. Iran made some inroads. They dropped their demand that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard be taken off the U.S. terror list in order to restart nuclear talks. And if there was some sort of success in the nuclear talks between Iran, that crude oil would now legally get put back on the market. It could ease supply, squeezes a little bit, but that's about it on the crude oil front. But inflation's not going anywhere. Anything for me?
Anything for you? You mean questions?
Yeah, or anything you want me to talk about, or
Well, we already covered. Oh, well, here we go. I got to get this back. November 2023 is when we no longer have daylight savings time, part of the Sunshine Protection Act.
Awesome.
Was it really called the Sunshine Protection Act? I mean, can't it just be F daylight savings? Why is it protecting the sun?
If I could pass one law, if they said to me, Bob, you can pass one law, you got carte blanche to pass one law, and they said, but not term limits, my second choice would be you can't name bills. They have to just have a number. Because literally, like the Protect Children Against Violence Act had a provision to send money to some small town in Virginia to build a statue to their congressman in the Protect Child Against Violence Act. So if somebody voted against that, they're against protecting children from violence because that's the title.
Yeah, but you could put anything in it. See, I think bills have to be specific, and all this crap being thrown in. If some stuff unrelated to the theme of the bill is thrown in, should get automatically booted out. And I think every law that's passed should have an automatic 10-year expiration. So, you know why?
I agree.
Because only the important ones are going to get renewed. Only the important ones are going to get renewed. Everything else just rolls off the books because you know how long it take them to redo every law at this point?
People get mad at me for liking Dan Crenshaw, but one of the things I like about him is when he votes against a bill, he makes a video saying exactly why he voted against it. It's pretty interesting. Like, you can go to his YouTube channel and he'll be like, okay, I voted against this bill. Why? Well, it's called the Please Don't Kill Anyone and Let Everyone Live and Be Happy bill, and I voted against it. And here's why. In paragraph 3 on page 6, he talks exactly why, which I love.
That's good. Now, wait, we got to, before you go, though,
Yeah.
here's your 10-year government bonds. I mean, it was up at one point before they stepped in again at 43 basis points.
You're talking about Japan.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
The JGBs.
yeah, and there we go. Where does this? By the way, the potential double is off the table, and we just hit the next small.
Off the table. It's gone.
Uh
It was gone from him.
it's gone. What? Why are they defending this peg so vehemently?
So they are far from their inflation target, and they're big believers in MMT. They've been working MMT for 30 years now, and they just believe in the policy. I mean, I don't have any other way to explain it. They're not at their inflation target yet, and they don't believe that they should tighten until they are. Now, it's interesting because Japanese inflation has risen actually for the last bunch of months compared to the prior 20 years. But they're still trying to weaken the yen, and this is one of the ways to do it, is to use this peg. So, it spikes, and then again, you get them defending it in their operations at the 0 to 25 basis point peg, which brings the bond back down. So it's just it's not going to work. It never works. This reminds me of the Bank of Japan intervening in the yen in the 90s. I mean, they just kept doing it, and they kept getting their lunch handed to them. It was unbelievable.
I mean, this is because now you're starting to get vigilantes go after it.
Yeah.
This just attracts more and more. This is not going to end well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Soros in the Bank of England.
What symbol was that, Mike, on TradingView?
It is JP10Y.
JP10. There it is. Cool. I had somebody say to me that I think that's a bad tick. I'm like, it's not.
No, because I reviewed it. Go back to the morning one because it's closed. They close, and the bar was green all the way up here because I highlight it now every morning, and then they reopen. It goes boop, all the way back down. I mean, you can see even on the short-term charts, it's harder to see because it's just little blips and ticks because it's but that's where it is.
Crazy.
So yeah, I don't see this ending well. And when it unravels, I mean, with the amount that they're going to own over 50% of their bond market, that's not going to bode well for unwinding.
So Kalan had a question specifically for me, but I don't remember what it was.
He did. Where was it? Kalani. Hi Bob. Do people pay to come on CNBC and talk up their books?
Really depends who it is. So anytime I was on CNBC, I did not get paid. But I also didn't. I just had to disclose if I was in something. If you get paid, you can't specifically promote things that you're in, but you can pay to promote things. So you can pay them to go on and promote things. Usually they don't put you on a show if that's the case. You get sort of like a slot, like Jim Cramer's private stock club. He theoretically pays CNBC to promote that, but no. If they come on and there's a guy, he wants to come on the podcast, and I might have him on because he's the chief operating officer of a logistics company, a global logistics company. It might be interesting to talk about the supply chain with him. But every time I watch him on Bloomberg or somewhere else, and he keeps hitting me up on LinkedIn saying, when are we going to dance? That's his way of saying, when are we going to be on the podcast? And he always says, the market's going to do this, the market's going to do that. That's why I think you should look at stocks like my company. We have organic growth of this, and he just starts going into why everybody should buy his company's stock. And that's fine, but it just, to me, smacks of, it makes me suspicious. That's all. Like, it wouldn't shock me, and that's why I'm not mentioning it, if this particular guy's company was like some sort of Ponzi scheme down the road. It wouldn't shock me one bit.
Sterling, Bob, with so many people having used all their available unemployment benefits, doesn't that help to keep the true unemployment rate suppressed? The real
Well,
unemployment
not
rate?
the unemployment rate. The jobless claims, yes. The unemployment rate doesn't apply to unemployment benefits. It's a survey. Are you employed or are you not? Jobless claims, yes. Jobless claims, it stays artificially low because jobless claims are the number of people who went into the office to file for unemployment. So the unemployment rate doesn't have anything to do with benefits.
And then final question from Kalani. Bob, have you ever considered a career in politics?
Um, Ask Mike why I won't do that.
I
I
actually,
don't need anyone digging into my old days. I don't. Just
that's
don't
what I
need
would have
that.
guessed.
Yeah.
There's just,
Honestly, Kalan, I would love to do it. Honestly, I've actually mentioned this to my wife before. I've said my platform would be, yeah, I did coke. Yeah, I drank a lot. Yeah, I smoked weed. Yes, I've been in jail overnight for fighting. What? What else? You want to vote for me or not? I
check,
don't care.
check,
That's what it would
check.
really be.
Yeah, but that's not going to end there. That's the problem.
Ugh.
So you could lay it all out there, but then it'd be on like an endless news cycle.
Yeah, it really would. My political science teacher in college said to me, the people who are smart enough to run the country are too smart to get into politics.
Yeah, it's
That always stuck with me.
all right.
All
Well,
right, guys.
there we have it. Thank you. We will see you again Thursday after J Powell's testimony. 2 days of testimony.
That'll be
Oh, by
fun.
the way, can
Hey,
I ask a question? I have one more
yeah,
question from Barkin this afternoon. The Fed is
yeah.
taking its foot off the gas expeditiously. Why did they're taking it off? Why did they leave it on the gas so long? Are they gonna ever talk about that?
It's actually a really good analogy. What he should have said is they were doing 95 and they're slamming on the brakes. Try not to hit your face on the dashboard. That's how he should have said it. I mean, yeah, he's not wrong in what he's saying, but you know what happened? It is the difference between coming off the gas when you're doing 90 and just letting it coast, or coming off the gas and slamming on the brake and pulling on the parking brake and hitting that train thing that stops the train from going into the station when it's a runaway train. That's what this is more like. So it's not going to be a soft landing. You're not going to be coasting in. I think he was trying to imply that they're just taking their foot off the gas and they're going to coast in. They're not. It's not going to happen.
All right, so Dr. Michael, so you're like the VP.
I'm like the VP's son. No.
No, the VP,
Um,
not the president's son. We're not going. We're not going with you. I don't think you're as bad as Hunter. Okay.
hey, look, if Powell says something crazy, I'll jump on tomorrow night.
All right. Dr. Michael says thanks. Let's see. There's no data coming for this week and next week, right? So we don't expect the mark. We got Fed speakers.
Yeah, Powell.
Yeah, and we got Fed speakers on top of that. We have so many Fed speak. It's getting ridiculous. I wish
Hey,
they'd shut up.
yeah, agreed. Before I go, you want to get loaded tomorrow. Play a drinking game. One is going to be recession, and the other is going to be unemployment. Those two words. So the right side of the aisle is going to be saying, are you going to be driving unemployment higher and getting people fired from jobs? And the other side is going, how sure are you that we're not going to avoid a recession, or that we're going to avoid a recession? It's going to be recession, unemployment, recession, unemployment, recession, unemployment over and over again. And then it'll be Elizabeth Warren saying you should be putting all the bank guys in jail. And that's it.
Fantastic. Then I won't be doing
Cheers,
it.
guys.
John, the Jay Powell's testimony in front of Congress is 2 days. It's Wednesday and
Yeah,
Thursday.
it's 2 days. 2 day testimony.
All right, I'll wrap up other stuff. Thank you, Bob.
All right, see you guys.
All right, bye. Okay, everyone, there we go. Small mic back. Yeah, and remember, next week is end of quarter. We can get some interesting end of quarter positioning also. So don't discount the next 2 weeks. Don't discount mean, this week isn't as active like as last week, but next week is end of quarter, and we could easily get some very interesting moves. So, again, just to reiterate, is this a long-term bottom? No. Not statistically, not position-wise. Again, not with the buy the dip and chase crap mentality. Is it a playable bottom? Completely. We already had that double trigger yesterday. And by the way, I mentioned that Head and Shoulders that, again, never manifested. It wasn't even a fully formed one. I just put that up for the people to watch that. We got momentum right off the open. Hope you spotted the momentum bars. And then here was a trade. This was the no-brainer trade of the day. Momentum bars off the open. Remember what I said about the little pause. We didn't pull back to that 50%. Little pause then, and then the follow-through breakout play. That's that was the trade of the day, just in case you're trying to learn some new strategies. So, could we see a pause tomorrow? Definitely could. I don't think the rally's over yet. Key areas I'm watching. Again, we generally, if we tap the daily rotation zone, we generally at least have a pause somewhere after hitting it or going into it. But if we get a pause, pullback, and then a continued, and this is not just for tomorrow, this is for the next few days, I'm really watching a target of this 3,900 breakdown zone. We still have the gap left behind, and the other end, it would be 3,900 to about 3,925, and then the 50% of this down move. That's what I am focused on for a continued play up. Do we now have a potential little short-term double top? Yeah, and when something's this close, after this big a move, I consider targets hit. I will still leave them on here officially. But just for the way I do stuff, when I see something that close, we start getting a reversal, especially end of day after a massive rally, I lock stuff in. Okay, because I don't want to sit through, let's say we have this double trigger, then we pull back tomorrow, then I got to wait and reposition for another run up. No, I'd rather go flat, and then if we get the pullback, watch for another long re-entry with the bigger targets. That's just something that I like to do. So if we trade this, this could happen overnight where we get the little pullback. That would be on a move below 37.57.25, and you see here virtually back to the first cross of the 4-hour rotation zone. All right. So, and then if you got the bigger pullback beyond that, my next bigger target, the next minor target is about 37.30. The major target would be a return to the breakout zone and the 50% retracement 37.11. So that's what I am watching for going. And then again, I'm still watching for a bigger continued rally, even if we get a pause or a pullback. NASDAQ, all the double targets are in. Still, the next push area, since we closed above the 62.5, still watching for about 11,688 to the return to the highs, but I'm really focused on the return to the highs area after a pullback. So I'm just taking those off. I'm sure everybody can remember that pretty much. Pullback area right now, keeping an eye on the 1-hour rotation zone for overnight stuff, 11,535 to about 11,523. If we drop below that, let me take this off. If we drop below that, my next major target is about 11,450 to 11,460 area on a bigger pullback. The Dow, again, first, second targets hit. This one was not close enough. This was that compared to the S&P. This was not close enough for me to unwind any position. Right now, oops, didn't want that. I wanted this. Minor pullback area about 30,480. More significant pullback would be down around the 4-hour rotation zone, and that rising 50 down around 30,300 to about 30,270. Russell only spiking up. This was not very strong price action, by the way. You can see Russell is actually the weakest. So there's really nothing going on for the Russell. I'm watching about 1686, then about 1677 for the pullbacks. Nothing great with the DAX, by the way. It already came back to the daily rotation zone and then ended. This was a bearish move, so I'm actually watching for another continued rollover play and a little potential retest of some of the shorter term harmonics. When I say that, I'm watching for some of these pullback moves now, especially after we tapped. We got the pause at the hitting the rotation zone, and now I'm really watching to see. We got the 50% about 13,180. I mean 13,184 to about 13,126. I'm like seeing if that holds with this prior consolidation area. Crude, just a whole bunch of nothing today. Actually shifted from one horizontal trading range to its higher one after hitting the first and second targets. So you can just do another breakdown, but really breakdown, if it breaks below about 109, it's really then targeting back to about 107.40, 107.50. If we start breaking above about 110.65, it gets into a clear path. The minor targets now, you can use your forward harmonics nicely. And harmonic cluster 111.75, just above the breakdown zone, and then 112.35. And then you're actually into a clear path all the way back, potentially up to your clear path breakdown zone, 114.30. Let me just get through a couple things, and we'll jump to stocks. Notes, nothing's really changed. Still watching for that double to play out. Dollar index in consolidation still. Again, still watching for either the breakout or breakdown play. Breakout play above about 104.60. Breakdown play below about 103.43. VIX started to break down, but this was the reversal at the end of the day. This is why I'm more watching for a potential little pullback with that double and a pause and then another push higher because there's action in the VIX. Let's touch on Bitcoin. Bitcoin coming back to its rotation zone and stopping right there. If it does spike above about 21.9, then I'll watch for the bigger play back to 23,113 and the other side of the daily rotation zone. But this wasn't terribly strong. We got a nice, especially with that intervention, we got a nice little snapback move, and then it's already stalling out against the rotation zone. So I have to judge where it pulls back to. Again, not a long-term bottom in here yet. Could be a short-term bottom, but not a long-term bottom unless it rolls down below 19,100. Tesla, again, this was massive day at one point, and then running up with that gap fill play. That was the first thing, and you had momentum right off the open with Tesla. Right there, little pause, and then the follow-through move. That's the thing. When you see that momentum off the open, that's generally a gift trade. Double is officially triggered. So gonna watch again for those pullback levels on Tesla now. Those pullback levels, the key levels based off of this. We have this huge gap left behind, but really your key level, as long as it does not get a close below about 665, it's still in short-term bullish mode, even with pullbacks. You want to pay attention to something tomorrow morning. Watch this 1-hour rotation zone. Now, I know Walmart, which I mentioned, got a percent B buy signal today. So I'm really focused on running up to the other side of the rotation zone. Even if we get a pause, we still have a gap fill up here. So that's what the play is for that, with cycles not even near the top. So I'm watching again, even if we get a pause tomorrow, for a continued move up with Walmart. And yes, we do have a potential other bigger double. I don't think it's going to trigger. If it does, it's playable. I'm focused more on the continued run up there. And if we get through that, remember, we could easily kiss the 200-week back goodbye, which is right at that 62.5. 125.35 is a very key area for this. A close above that, then we could go back and make a run to the weekly rotation zone. So for the longer term plays, you keep ratcheting up your stop for Walmart. ARC, the junk ARC, but again, hit that gap above here. This said to be an intraday play, hitting that first target off the double and then reversing down. That also gave me a little room for pause. And you know my feelings on ARC, but when you're trying to play the junk, it's the easiest way to play it. So again, if this starts breaking down below today's open, going to target the gap fill play back down. Other stuff, by the way, let me give you something else. When you're trying, I said focus on mega caps. Well, we had the little breakout play I talked about in Facebook. Now, and there are a bunch of mega cap plays today. When you see a stock, remember we had momentum off the open in the S&P and NASDAQ, and you see a little gap, trigger a gap fill, and then just run the other way, you don't want anything to do with it. This was one of the weakest things today from a big stock that couldn't sustain anything after the gap fill with momentum bars going the other way. So if this is where, hey, breakout play, trying to do the gap play upside and then it rolls over, this is something you want to cut out quickly and just refocus your attention on the things that are running. Things that were run, like you had, I mean, stuff ended a little weak. That's where I was a little concerned. But Microsoft, we got the play to the upside above Friday's high. I'm still watching for this to trigger through month end potentially. So that would be possibly in play tomorrow. Microsoft, Amazon did not like the way that behaved at all. That's another mega cap I did not like. So coming up, intraday triggering the on the momentum bars, triggering this and then rolling back down. That's something that, yes, it's technical. It did not trigger on the daily close. So this was, if you're in it and then it rolls off and it's not going to trigger, it's sort of a bail trade. It's like, I'd rather stick with the stronger things. Like Apple, even though it pulled back a little bit, it's still finished the day pretty well. So Apple, Microsoft are things I'm watching for continued up plays. NVIDIA is another one. Confirmed a double and then just rolled over. So NVIDIA, no, this needs to show a lot more strength before I'm interested again. It's confirmed but not triggered on that daily basis. So that's another one I'm sticking clear of. Just wanted to show you things that, all right, they might have been in a position, but based off that price action, you don't want to be chasing those because they rolled over. I mean, it pretty much got all of its gains off this gap up and then couldn't sustain any of it. So those are the ones sitting on the hands, really focused on things like that Microsoft play, though. See, this was another. I'm more watching if we pull back tomorrow for the gap fill play for this to the downside. Again, running up and then couldn't sustain anything. Little run up. You got the first pause. It continued higher and then meandered and then rolled over and started breaking down. So I'm focused on that one for a gap play. I think that's about it. All right. Well, this was a pretty good session, I think. There we go. Oh, you wanted Ethereum too? Let me jump back. I did Bitcoin. Again, I think this is going to be a little relief rally in crypto. Should we keep getting the rally, not necessarily tomorrow, but these are the times if you're caught in cryptos, I'd be looking to unwind positions. Why? Because we have long-term sell patterns triggered and everything doesn't go straight down. You know, when we get the next major push down, could this be rally theoretically through the end of the month? Yeah, it could be. And then we could get another when we get the next major push down in stocks and we go to risk off mode again, where we could see, you know, there's a lot of this crypto still holding too much crap in there and it's going to blow. Next target, you get above about 1,200. Of my next major target's already been on there is 1423. That's the target I gave somebody who wanted some analysis who's actually caught in a lot of Ethereum. That was the next major target to the upside. That I actually put that out before we had that little bottoming. Amazon. What about Amazon? That's one I did not like that price action and did not trigger that daily. So the only play for me is if we start getting some momentum to the upside because this was a very weak close. This was one that I'm very cautious on to the upside. Yes, it's confirmed to double, but it's officially not triggered. There still is a gap play, but this would have to get some intraday momentum with a very strong NASDAQ to consider playing it, and then it would only be like possibly that 1 day play, especially with daily cycles starting to get to the top, because if they top out before this gets to the target, you have another rollover play ahead. So that I'm being very cautious on Amazon. All right. With that, thank you, everyone. Oh, wait. Take a look at lots. Closing half their locations for profitability. Huh? What do you mean closing half their locations for profitability? That's like Tesla. We're laying off 10% of our salary or our workers because we have such high demand for our cars. Okay? Really? And you're telling me car lots, you know, that's just, no, there's no play here. It's just, and that couldn't even get the rally out of junk. This is complete junk, and it couldn't get even an up day. I'd steer completely clear of this. There's better junk to play than that. If this can't even get an up close on a day like this, when people are focused on rotating in the junk. Oh, nice little play out of communications. I said watch for something like this was AT&T today. Forgot to mention that one. What else did we have? Hold on. I was just thinking what else. Oh, we haven't talked about NIO, but that looks like it's going to complete its double. AMD, something else? Nah, there's just, it had a ton of volume today, but couldn't get anything going after the gap. I was just seeing what else was here that I didn't mention. I think that's about it. All right. That's a pretty good session. There's where we sit. So little lessons from today. Remember, learn those momentum bar trades. The first move after the momentum bar pause is a great thing to work on and study and practice. And the other thing was when you have a strong market day and your stock, let's say you're trading something, let's say you grabbed something like that Meta Facebook thing, and it's just rolling over with a very strong NASDAQ having momentum bars, Facebook going the other way with momentum bars. Cut the trade quickly. Just that's not a good sign. When you see something that's going the opposite of momentum bars that has no follow through and starts running the other way, cut it quickly if you're in it. Those are the lessons for today. I'm trying to give some. But Netflix, again, when Netflix does this on a day, no. Ran up, rotation zone, rotating back down. Netflix down today 2.62% with the NASDAQ up 2.52%. So that's like, no. It needs to form that's weak. It's got cycles possibly rolling over. It would not be a long side play for me at this point. Now, if it came back down, forms a double bottom in here, which it very well could, and then triggers, it could be a short-term play. But this is not something I'd take it off my radar screen for longs. If we start rolling back down, even for consolidating or going down tomorrow, this could be a short play because of the weakness. But at this point, it would not be a long play. All right, there we have it. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I will be back tomorrow morning. Everybody have a wonderful evening. You are welcome. Eric, you are welcome. Balaji, I hope I said that right. Balaji. Again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Chris, and have a wonderful, fantastic evening. We will reposition ourselves for JPOW testimony tomorrow. Talk to everyone later. Bye.